Moving on to other news now, several new primary schools in Scotland will have just one set of toilets for boys and girls. It's all in a move to make LGBT kids feel more comfortable and also, among other things, to reduce bullying. Now, this is a statement from a local council in Glasgow.
Bullying is reduced, behaviour is improved, no graffiti, no soggy bombs on the ceilings. It also assists the LGBT agenda, because if we have children even in primary school who are confused about their gender and worry, do I go to the girls' toilet or the boys' toilet, well, it doesn't matter.
The move has been questioned, though, by many parents. But National Health Service figures show the number of children who feel that they were born with the wrong gender has recently quadrupled. Let's discuss this now with two guests. Human rights activist Peter Tatchell joins us, and also Toni Bugle, who's from the English Democrats and is founder of Marius. Welcome to you both, guys. I'd like to come to you first, Toni. What's your take on this? Do you think unisex toilets, and we're talking about primary schools here, do you think this is a good idea?
No, I think it's a terrible idea. I think it's one of the worst. I actually find this quite an affront to all children, if I'm honest. Growing up as a kid, obviously I'm a girl. I can remember even in primary school, going into the toilet, and little boys would try and run in and try and peek underneath the cubicle, which made me feel very uncomfortable as a little girl. I don't think that having a toilet that allows boys and girls, you're going to have, if anything, more tormenting. And I just can't understand what is wrong with it. We have two genders. We have male, we have female. And I don't think that primary school kids, really, are they that confused? And if they are, surely that's what their parents are there for, to give them that guidance. Do they really need a toilet to give them that guidance?
Peter, Toni makes, I would have thought, a fairly basic and obvious point there, that kids are going to be mischievous, and if they're put in close proximity, they're going to start, peeking over or under the cubicles. That'll cause some distress. Also, parents will get distressed. Is it worth all the hassle?
Well, with regard to peeking under or over the toilet doors, the simple solution is to make the doors full length from floor to ceiling. Then there's no problem. But I think the bigger issue is, of course, we need to recognise and be sensitive towards some young people who are unsure or uncertain about their gender. Some young people don't identify as a boy or a girl. Unisex toilets are a way of overcoming that problem. It's also a fact that no child is born a boy or a girl, in the sense that they come out of the womb recognising themselves as a boy or a girl. That is learned behaviour. And we also know that there are a lot of people.
I think you'll find that the gender is actually designed by the fact that they have a vagina or not, Peter. Well,
can you let me finish, please? Don't be rude.
Yeah,
don't
I'm happy
be rude,
to finish,
please.
but you're still talking nonsense.
OK, let's let Peter finish. Let's just let Peter finish, and then we'll come back and you have your say.
Yeah.
The fact is that a lot of people don't fit neatly into the boxes of male and female. And I think we should be sensitive, compassionate and caring towards those people and not feel they have to make a decision, male or female. There's no big problem about having unisex toilets. It's just about having toilets where anybody can go.
OK, Toni, there's a couple of things you objected to there, even the idea of whether it wouldn't work to have just a sealed-off toilet cubicle. Go ahead.
Well, for starters, it's all right saying we'll have a sealed-off cubicle where you don't have the whole point of the gap at the top and the bottom is if a little child gets themselves locked into the toilet, you have a way of getting in and getting them out. It could be that the lock's broken, and maybe it's no good trying to take the whole door off, and rather than causing distress, it's much easier. So I don't see that blocking the view from above and below. You might as well turn it into a small prison cell. As for yes, there are people who grow up and are confused, but I don't think primary school children really need that being pushed onto them. And when they talk about we need to be sensitive, there doesn't seem to be any sensitivity towards children who don't have any confusion about their gender. They are boy, they are girl, they are male, they are female. When you are born with a vagina or a penis. That is what you are, a boy or a girl. There are only two genders. When somebody grows up and feels that they should have surgery because they feel that they should have been born a girl, I totally support those people and their right to do so. But that doesn't mean to say that as a woman and as a little girl, you should also not have your needs recognised. So this isn't about being sensitive. This is about more pandering and more appeasement. And I just think that this is being forced onto primary school. We're talking primary school children. You know, it's bad enough that he wants sex education in schools for children as young as 3, 4 and 5. I don't think a child needs to know about sex at 3, 4 and 5. They just need to know if somebody does something that makes them feel uncomfortable. And as a little girl that went to school, primary school, I would have felt particularly uncomfortable about a boy being in the toilet at the same time as me being in the toilet. And I think there's many, many children who would feel exactly the same way. And I totally get why parents are really upset over this. So it's not about being insensitive. I disagree with Peter, but then I disagree with a lot of Peter's views, including the age of consent that he thinks is appropriate for children and adults to be having sex.
Well, let's keep it on this topic if we can. And if I could just come back to you, Peter,
absolutely,
just to see what you
along the same topic.
Just to see what you think about that, because you know, let's be honest, at that age, a lot of kids are very shy around members of the opposite sex. They don't really know what's going on. So I just want, what do you think about what Toni said about that? It'll make people feel uncomfortable. But I'd also like to know what do you know about the discomfort that people who are confused about their sexuality and maybe are just questioning it, what evidence is there as to how much of a problem, how discomforting that can be for young children?
Well, let's talk about evidence. The evidence is that a lot of young people, a minority for sure, but a lot of young people don't strictly identify as male or female. And we're talking about young people aged 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now, I think their feelings should be respected. They shouldn't be forced to go into a male or female toilet if it conflicts with what they think or feel they are. There's no harm in respecting their feelings. Most young children that I've heard of, when they've been surveyed, don't see this as an issue. They're very happy to use unisex toilets. They don't mind the fact, mostly, don't mind the fact that some young people may be born as a boy but identify as a girl or vice versa. Young people are much more open-minded than adults. They see the human being, they're born, and they come into this world without the prejudices that many adults foist upon them. So let's respect that, and let's try and educate young people about gender diversity, about the fact that some people do not entirely identify with male or female, that they acknowledge the reality, the psychologically proven reality, that we're all a mixture of male and female. You know, very few people are 100% male or 100% female, and that's fine. And it's terrible to think of the way in which I can think of some straight friends of mine, heterosexual friends, men who are a bit effeminate, who don't fit the macho sort of stereotype, and they've been bullied throughout their school years. That's really, really terrible and really unfair. And I just think that this is part of the process of trying to challenge that and to make our society more understanding and accepting of difference. What's the big deal?
Okay, Toni, I just want to touch on some other of the claims, because the local councils they've given a whole plethora of reasons why they think this is a great idea. Among them, they say it's going to reduce bullying and that toilets are cleaner. I just wonder what you make of some of the other claims that are being made there.
Well, first of all, look, bullying happens in all schools, and I don't like bullies of any kind, and I would have been the first to stand up against any bully when I was at school, but I also was a child who was bullied at school. So bullying happens, and we need to address the issue of bullying. But by the same token, what Peter is talking about for a minority of people and children, we're talking about children. If it's so easy, Peter, then is it not just as easy to sit down and talk to these children and explain that if they do feel differently, this is something we can talk about. But they also need to understand that the majority know that they are female or know that they are male. Little boys are very embarrassed about their bodies as they are growing up. Little girls are very embarrassed by their bodies growing up. I don't want, and where does it stop? How long before we start seeing this in the general public and I go to the toilet, which is a gender neutral toilet, and I'm followed in by a man, or a man is followed in by a woman? At the moment, male and female toilets, you followed in by a man, I'm going to want to know why he's in there, and it's going to tell me that I feel slightly threatened and intimidated. Pushing this awful leftist, liberal, everybody's beautiful, a rainbow nation And look, we are a multifaceted country, and if that's the case, why are we pandering to a minority?
OK, I just want to come back to Peter here, if I may, Toni. I just want to say, Peter, it's a system that's been going on well for as long as I've ever known, and it's not caused any major problems as far as I'm aware. Do we really have to force these kind of adult issues onto young children already? Can't we just let them grow up a bit first and then start considering the weighty issues of life?
Well, unisex toilets are the opposite of forcing people. When you have male and female toilets and enforce that, that is an element of compulsion. So that goes against the whole principle of live and let live and respecting difference. When it comes to unisex toilets, usually they are separate, standalone cubicles. So I was at a university today.
OK, Peter, I really do apologise. I'm afraid I am going to have to interrupt you. I'm afraid we've simply just run out of time. My sincere apologies. Many thanks. Peter Tatchell, human rights activist, and Toni Bugle from the English Democrats. Thank you, guys.